First day in the office, internet dreams collide. Season 3 got me buzzing, Comcast worldwide. I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, a podcast made by Comcast interns about interns. I'm Isabella Yu, a university relations intern working in person at the Battery office in Atlanta for this summer 2024. This season, we will be sharing our internship experiences as Gen Z interns. Our point of view. We could not be more excited to have you all tuning in and joining us.
I'm an intern, baby, learn the ropes today. Season 3 is crazy, internet's my...
Let's get started and meet our hosts.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Season 3 of the Internet Podcast, a podcast created by interns, about interns, for interns. My name is Gabriella Raad, and I'm super excited to be hosting today's episode. A little bit about me is I'm graduating from the University of Georgia in just a couple of weeks. Go Dogs! This summer, I'm working as a security risk intern here at the Central Division headquarters in the Battery, Atlanta.
And hello, everyone. My name is Perri Eason. I am super excited to be returning as a host for this week's episode. As mentioned before, I am a political science senior at LSU from Houston, Texas. This summer, I'm actually working as a government affairs intern for the Big South region, and it's been so much fun. I used to be a virtual intern, but recently I've been working full-time in the Battery office. This summer, I have been working on poll attachment agreements. I've been working with my amazing team and so much more. It's truly been an awesome summer.
Today, we are so excited to take a deep dive into all of our biggest projects this summer, our intern showcase that highlights our summer.
That's right, Gabriella. So every Central Division intern must complete an intern showcase. There are different versions of the intern showcase in all the different divisions, and they're just essentially a way for interns to show leadership and the people that they have been working with all summer what they've been up to.
These intern showcases have been in the back of our minds since the moment we started our internship here at Comcast. And now the time has come that we finally get to share them.
So first, let's get a little more into what exactly an intern showcase is. As we said earlier, the intern showcase is essentially just a presentation talking about who you are, what you worked on this summer, and what you gained from your internship experience.
Exactly, Perri. The university relations team sets clear instructions and guidelines for us, but it also leaves room for us to add our own creative flair. We use the official Comcast PowerPoint templates to prepare us for our 10-minute presentations with additional time for some questions.
They also told us that this is a tool to really boost ourselves. They want us to highlight the impact that we have made in the short time that we have been here this summer, the key things we have learned, and share our next steps and goals.
So, you might be wondering, who sits in these intern showcases? Well, anyone can. We are encouraged to invite pretty much anyone we have interacted with during our time at Comcast. Whether it's senior level executives or a prospective team you want to work on, the possibilities are endless. The most important people to have on there is your team and your intern friends, of course.
Right, Gabriella. And the cool thing is that everyone's intern showcase is going to look different. The finance intern showcases look super different from those on the marketing team. It's super exciting to present to the other interns and get input from them as well.
Exactly, Perri. Running your intern showcase by others is so important.
Did you know that the tallest skyscraper in the Philadelphia area is Comcast's Tower 2? This building has 60 floors and is over 1,000 feet tall. It's pretty cool that Comcast wins the title of being the tallest building in Philly, but this is actually a title that they've held for a while now. Before Comcast built Tower 2, Philadelphia's tallest skyscraper was Comcast's Tower 1. So clearly Comcast dominates the Philadelphia skyline, which makes sense considering that's where their headquarters are.
On today's episode, we have two very special guests who have been through this process before. Hannah and Mark, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Absolutely, Gabriella. Thank you all so much for having us. Hey guys, my name is Marc Gafoor, and I am a Wake Forest alumni. Go Deeks! I was a government affairs intern last summer, and I just recently transitioned into a full-time role here in the Battery office in Atlanta.
And hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Lee, and I graduated from Georgia Tech. Go Yellow Jackets. I was a sales and marketing intern, but just a few weeks ago, I actually transitioned into a full-time role in the market research and analytics in the Battery office.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And congratulations to you both on transitioning into your full-time roles. That's super exciting. Obviously, your showcases must have been great last year, so we are so excited to hear your words of wisdom. Do you guys think your intern showcase had a big impact on your transition? And is it as important as the UR team says it is?
For sure, Perry. I would say, for lack of a better term, I would say it's the intern Super Bowl. It's basically a time and space to show anyone you want all of the work you've done. Basically, all the people that you've spoken to over the summer, you can invite them all in. And inherently, I would say it's almost like a presentation interview kind of thing. I definitely think it had an impact on my move into a full-time role because I was able to present all of my projects that I worked on over the summer and present it to all the people on my team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Mark, like 100%. It just gives you an opportunity to share your achievements with essentially anyone at Comcast, which ultimately promotes visibility within the company, which is something that as interns we all want. And it gives people an opportunity to vouch for you when your name might, pop up at a table and kind of vouch for what you're really capable of. It also helps you gain a full understanding of what it is that you really did during your time here. I was really nervous going into it last year, but honestly, in the long run, I know that it really helped me.
You guys clearly slayed last year. Who did you guys invite to your showcase?
Basically, I invited everyone I'd met throughout the summer. Legit. I made it a point to connect with multiple people from different business units and ask around and just try to truly understand those different features. And through, sort of just gaining those perspectives, I just invited everyone I connected with, even people in prospective departments that I wanted to work in the future. One of my topics of interest is sustainability. So inviting some of the people that I connected with from ESG into my presentation was awesome.
So mine was a little smaller. I did invite everyone in my direct reporting team, obviously, and anyone else I worked with on other projects across different teams. So anyone in government affairs, anyone in HR, I did invite pretty much anyone that I worked with. I also invited the VP of my division and my fellow intern cohort members, obviously.
That's awesome, guys. I know I have had a hard time getting started on my presentation, so I really value the advice you guys are giving. I think the biggest thing the UR team has continually said is to really highlight the impact that you have made on the company. Do you guys have any tips for crafting the presentation?
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest pointers I could give is to let your personality really shine, which sounds kind of corny, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that you shouldn't be so afraid of messing up that you create this kind of rigid script or beat yourself up for veering off course. And another tip is to keep things high level. Like you said, Perry, it's way more important to explain your impact rather than kind of diving into the more granular explanation of different topics or different, I don't know, company acronyms, if you will.
For sure, Hannah, I completely agree. For me, what helped me out was I thought that thinking about the what, why, and how was really helpful for basically every single bullet that you would put on the presentation, because this helps set the context for what you did and it helps explain your steps. One of the most important things that I think is to definitely talk about the result and impact of your projects. But I would also, make sure to keep it within branding guidelines, but don't be afraid to deviate from just title and text on each slide. It's really helpful to use some sort of visualization, such as large numbers, photos, colors for each section. All these features can help make for a really effective presentation.
Most definitely, guys. I'm definitely going to focus my presentation on how I specifically impacted the company and what problems I solved. I'd like to run my presentation by a few other interns and the UR team beforehand. How did you guys prepare?
So I first created a doc with everything that I'd done over the summer, which tip, you want to do this before your showcase prep. I kind of did it over the course of the entire summer anyway, so that wasn't too hard. Then I created a draft of my talk track before devising my actual presentation, which might sound a little backwards for some people, but for me personally, I found that once I knew what it was that I really wanted to talk about first, then I used my presentation more as a visual aid to help me talk about what it is that I'm talking about to the group. And then lastly, I practiced formally with several different groups, my intern friends, my manager, and at the end, my whole team as well.
I completely agree with Hannah's first take. I would highly recommend that you take notes on all of the projects and assignments that you get assigned throughout the summer. Any small learning, any cool event that you got to get out of the office for, any sort of community impact event that you did, all of that stuff will be super helpful for that presentation. But I'd like to think that I also had a slightly different approach. For me, I prepped for around 2 to 3 weeks of real life run throughs. I was lucky enough to have two managers who were very keen on ensuring that I made myself look as best as possible, as I represented our team for government affairs in the Big South region as a whole. The first time I practiced my presentation, I probably said furthermore 15 times. And after being told that, real people don't talk like that, I switched it up. I know it's a small example for features that you can change, but only if you do it in front of people, you can actually develop those skills and get better. Another tip I would say is that whenever you get home from your internship and you want to get some more practice in, record it and critique it yourself, as you are your own best critic.
That is really great to hear, guys. I know I will definitely be running my presentation by some of the other interns as well, so I can get some more feedback. Now, I will say the only portion of the presentation that I am a little nervous about is honestly just my public speaking. Do you guys have any presentation tips or pointers for that?
100%. I think public speaking is a skill that I think a lot of people our age don't have. It's kind of nerve-wracking to be presenting to people, not only on your team, but as you were saying, C-suite executives, VPs, and whatnot. But I would say that if you're nervous and if people looking at you makes you nervous, look into the quote unquote horizon of the room. If you sort of look across this horizon, which is essentially just past the people in the room, if you look basically to the very back and you keep sweeping left to right, you'll kind of trick your audience into looking incredibly confident and not scared of public speaking, even if you are, because honestly, who isn't?
So it's funny. For me, I've always been told that I'm really good at public speaking, but I don't think it's that I'm necessarily good at public speaking. I think that whenever I've had to present, I just really knew what I was talking about. And so that's kind of the advice that I have is that you shouldn't really try so hard to memorize a script. And I know I kind of mentioned this earlier, but instead, you want to intimately understand what it is that you're presenting. That way, even if you forget or run off track, what you need to say will come to you intuitively versus the alternative, which is, you freeze up and you can't remember what you need to say. And that's really the worst option, which I don't think that's ever happened to anyone here, knock on wood. But yeah, that would be my advice.
You guys, I really love both of your answers. The truth is, you're going to get nervous, but there's always ways you can walk in prepared and just build confidence in yourself.
And that's a huge deal. Not many people tap into is that doing these presentations, like Hannah and Marc mentioned, not only makes you prepared for your showcase, but also makes you feel confident presenting it.
Now, from what I heard, if an intern isn't afraid of the public speaking part, they're scared of the Q&A.
And honestly, Gabriella, I can understand that because we literally have no clue what will be asked. And for 20 minutes, that's a long time. And that can feel very intimidating.
Right? But even though we have no clue what will be asked, we can still prepare. What questions were you guys asked and how did you prepare for the Q&A portion?
So my rule of thumb with the Q&A, since we kind of get to prep the questions that were asked with our managers, is one, have one that's technical to showcase, vouching for yourself, showing that you actually did something for the company. But also, I liked having what I call a fluffy question. And so those two questions were, what was the most difficult part of said project? And that was where I was really able to showcase my more technical ability and the technical skills that I kind of honed in over the summer. But the second question was, what did you realize about yourself after completing the internship? Which is where I kind of got to show a bit more of my personality, which I think is equally important when you're presenting.
Yeah. And for me, I think I'd agree with Hannah. For the most part, the questions are going to feel fluffy. It's going to be, what'd you do? Did you enjoy it? What are your next steps? But I got one question that had me incredibly stumped. An audience member that I connected with previously who attended the showcase had asked me a very technical and in-depth question that had multiple moving parts. And I remember upon being asked that, I said, let me think about that. And I stood there for what felt like an eternity just thinking. What I'll say with that is that maybe I had a good answer, maybe I didn't. But when it comes to technical questions, if you give yourself a little bit of time before you answer, one, it shows the person who's asking the question that you're giving it some real genuine thought. And two, it allows time for yourself to really think through and develop a really good answer.
That is actually so funny that you say that, Mark, and I would so pay to see that. But I agree. And I think the number one thing is to remember to be authentic, which may sound easy to do, but whenever you're in a room with people you might want to work for, it's easy to respond what you think they want to hear and not with what you know.
That's so true. Sometimes we get so caught up in the professional act, like we talked about a couple episodes back, that we lose our authenticity. And this is why prepping beforehand is so beneficial. But hey, just asking overall, what's some of your guys' best intern showcase advice?
At this point, I kind of feel like I'm repeating myself, but honestly, it's to own what you know and own who you are. The thing is, with human interaction, it's an extremely nuanced thing. So people will know when you're not feeling yourself or if you're faking something. So you should just try to feel comfort in the fact that you have a room full of people who you've spent an entire summer building a relationship with, and they want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. My only follow-up to that is to practice, practice, practice. You can never practice enough. And as I was saying earlier, to kind of make sure you have good content, keep that daily log of all the tasks you've done, meetings, notes during meetings, all of that will help you build your presentation. But like I was saying earlier, really hammer in that practicing because, putting time aside to practice time with your managers. And like I was saying earlier, practice in front of yourself. There you'll be able to get some real actionable feedback that will improve your presentation and your presentation skills as a whole.
Is there anything you guys wish you could change looking back on your previous internship experience?
I would say that I loved my internship experience. It was a phenomenal program, really cool experiences. The only thing maybe that I would change regarding my presentation itself was to maybe go into a little bit more detail about the technical aspects of my summer project, because getting asked a technical question like that, it would have been helpful to be able to go back to slides and sort of point out some of the features of my process to get to that end goal number.
My intern showcase went surprisingly well. Dare I say perfect? I don't really wish to change anything because it did get me to where I am now, which is obviously a full-time position with Comcast. So I can't really complain about anything.
Well, you two, this has been so much fun and so insightful. A huge thank you to Hannah and Mark for spending time with us all summer and especially today to give us their POV.
No, thank you. And anytime.
Thank y'all both so much for hosting. This has been amazing.
I feel super prepared for my showcase now.
Welcome back to Comcast in Your Community, a segment devoted to sharing important updates and promising insight into how Comcast impacts people on a deeper level. So what is Comcast doing today? Well, if you didn't already know, Comcast's headquarters are located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In an effort to support improving student learning outcomes and building a diverse teacher workforce, Comcast invested $500,000 in a project called Elevate 215. Elevate 215 aims to improve schools in Philadelphia that primarily serve Black and Hispanic or Latinx students, as well as students from low-income families or backgrounds. Delilah Wilson Scott, who serves as Executive Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer of Comcast Corporation and President of NBC Universal, said that partnering with Elevate 215 underscores the company's support for Philadelphia students and families to have access to high-quality schools and teachers. And it's just truly so awesome to see how Comcast puts their money into valuable areas aside from those within their own company.
Now that I'm looking at the clock, I think it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Behind the Desk.
For this segment, we ask interns, what's one word to describe how you're feeling about intern showcases? Perri, how are you feeling about your intern showcase?
So I'm feeling excited, but I am a bit nervous just because I'm going to be summarizing everything that I did this summer to a room full of people. But like I said, I am excited, and I think once I get out there and present my showcase, all will be well. What about you, Gabriella?
Excited, but our interns friends said that they were feeling amazing, anxious, scared. 5 out of 7 said they were actually excited as well, and only 3 said that they were nervous.
Honestly, I don't think that anyone can have a bad showcase unless you go way over time.
I totally agree, but we also asked interns, what would be your dream person to watch your intern showcase? I'm not sure who I would want. What about you, Perri?
Completely random, but I think I would want Kris Jenner to attend mine just because I think she's so iconic, and I feel like she doesn't hold back with her feedback. So I think that having her in there would be like the craziest but best experience ever.
That would be cool. Well, our intern friends said that they would want their mom and dad, Aristotle, their old boss, Noah Miller, Bill Nye, Barbara Corcoran, Trixie Mattel, Sarah Blankley, and Brian Roberts to attend their showcases.
A thank you to Joan, Kennedy, Lizzie, Ella, Jessica, Olivia, Alex, Amanda, and Quay for participating on this segment of Behind the Desk. And a huge thank you to every intern that gave us their POV on season 3 of the Internet podcast. This segment couldn't have been such a success without you. And a big thank you to Marc and Hannah for making today's episode a success.
Stay tuned for next week's episode and all season long, as we'll be always keeping it real and bringing you our POVs. See you next week.
Thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of the Internet Podcast. This episode was brought to you by the Intern Podcast Committee with support from the incredible University Relations team in the Central Division. Special thanks to Janda Anderson, Ernesto Sosa, Lindsay Seals, and Andres Cardoso for making our experiences as Comcast interns unforgettable. Past seasons of the Internet Podcast are now streaming on YouTube if you'd like to check them out, and stay tuned for the next episode of Season 3.